Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a paid request for Jonathan. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of movie review, re-review, random thought streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, full playthrough, tier list ranking, video game playthrough, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. I do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. And this is for Vantage Point, a 2008 film that I've always enjoyed. I always thought this was a pretty good film. The director is Pete Travis. Now, he's the guy whose name is on the credits for Dread, the Carl Urban film. Although throughout the years I've heard that he didn't really direct the film. It was the writer Alex Garland. I think that's pretty much what Carl Urban said. So I don't know what the whole details of that is. Like, how much did Pete Travis do? How much did Alex Garland do? I don't know. But he did do this one. And pretty much this is a take on, not the story, but the style of kind of a Rashomon from back in the day. Which is ironic because within the past month or two, I reviewed the original by Akira Kurosawa, and then I reviewed the American remake, which had, I think, Paul Newman and William Shatner in the film. Now, granted, those are about how each one, like, their point of view, it's a bit different from the other, so which one is the truth? This is not so much that. This is more of an event happens, and then you see a couple people's point of view as you replay the events, but you see it from their point of view to try to get the full thrust of the story. And I thought, while you'll pretty much, after the second or so person, you kind of get the gist of the story already, I still thought it was kind of at least a bit of a different way to tell this type of story. That if you told it straight through would be pretty typical, and also, yeah, it'd be pretty typical, but I liked the way it was structured. I thought it was a bit different. And I thought it was helped by a good cast. Because you have Dennis Quaid, Matthew Fox, Forrest Whitaker, Sigourney Weaver, who has a small role, but it's nice to see her in there. William Hurt. Richard T. Jones is in it for a little bit. He was one of the crew members in the movie Event Horizon. So it's cool to see Richard T. Jones there. And going through the cast, I always liked Dennis Quaid. Ever since Inner Space and other films of that nature, I thought Dennis Quaid was always a good... I liked him in Jaws 3. So, great to see Dennis Quaid as the star. Get to see him a little bit as an action hero. He's a Secret Service agent. Before I go on, the plot of the film is it takes place in Spain. The president, William Hurt, may he rest in peace. I always remember him from the movie Altered States. He was also in the 2008 The Incredible Hulk as the general. Pretty much the character that Harrison Ford would play in Captain America: Brave New World, since William Hurt had passed away. But William Hurt's the president. He's there for a conference to talk. In the midst of it, he gets shot. There's an assassination attempt. Then soon after, a couple bombs go off. And then they have to figure out what's going on, what's happening. You find out things are not quite what you may at first suspect. And it goes through these point of views. So you have like the news point of view at the beginning, where Sigourney Weaver and the crew are in the truck. Actually, the reporter outside is Zoe Saldana, before she really kicked off into fame. Before Avatar, before Gamora and Guardians of the Galaxy. This was very young, this is before they were famous, Zoe Saldana. So I forgot she was in this. I'm like, oh shit, I recognize her. So you're with the microphone talking, and we see from their perspective the assassination attempt and the bombs. And then you see Dennis Quaid come in. We get a little bit of information from the news crew who Dennis Quaid is, and he wants the tapes, and he sees something, and he leaves, and Sigourney Weaver's like, what did he see? What did he see? And I thought that was really interesting, to keep the audience wondering, okay, well, what did he see? Okay, well, that'll be unveiled later on. So as the movie goes on, we see certain things to piece together. Granted, in a rewatch, since you know what's going on, it's like, okay, well, I know what he saw already. So maybe it's not as impactful and it's a repeat viewing, second or third viewing, but it was still an interesting way to do it. You know, try to be a bit different. And then you go from Dennis Quaid's point of view, and he had a bit of a history where at one point he took the shot for president, but he lived, and he's trying to shake off the effects of that. He's on the Secret Service detail with Matthew Fox, which I liked as an actor. He was the villain in Alex Cross. Yeah, the Alex Cross movie that Tyler Perry starred in. Which I actually don't hate that film. It has its issues, but I don't hate that movie. I could watch it. Matthew Fox did a good job in the villain in that movie. Again, here he's a Secret Service agent. And we see his point of view, Dennis Quaid's point of view, where he's being cautious, being paranoid, he notices something in the window. And then, you know, in the midst of it when the shit hits the fan. The other people, Forrest Whitaker is a tourist with a video camera and it looks like he may have filmed something. He also met this little girl and she's looking for her mom and he tries to help her. There's this Spanish cop who at first is under suspicion because he rushed to the podium and got tackled by the Secret Service. He's like, no, I'm here to protect the mayor, let me go. And then he knows a bit what's going on. You have the William Hurt's point of view, and then you have the bad guy's point of view. So you have these different point of views to help unveil pieces of the puzzle, so to speak. And it's a pretty short film. Like, if you take out the end credits, it's like an hour and 20-some minutes. So it's a very short film. I thought it moved pretty brisk and pretty quickly. I like how they kind of play with the audience. So, for example, in the Dennis Quaid portion, he gets the video camera from Forrest Whitaker, but we don't see. It's always like something they hold away from the audience until we'll reveal it later. So, like, Dennis Quaid sees something, he freaks out, and Sigourney Weaver goes, what did he see? Also, like, they see something on the video camera, they freak out, run, and then there's an explosion. Well, you find out later in the film what those things happen to be that they saw and they reacted to. So, and it does have a very good cast. I remember the trailer for this film. I think the trailer deserves some credit where they used the music from 300, actually. I think it's like during the end credits of 300, this music starts. That's in the trailer. In the second half. It really gets your adrenaline pumping with the way it's edited and how each of the cast is introduced at the end there. Dennis Quaid, William Hurt. I do wish Sigourney Weaver had a bit more to do. She's at the very beginning of the film, then she kind of disappears for the rest of the movie. So she's not in the film a whole lot. William Hurt, you see him a little bit, then you only see him really in the third act of the movie. Sometimes there's a part of me that kind of wishes the whole film was with Dennis Quaid's point of view, because I definitely thought he was the most interesting character. But yeah, I liked the different type of story structure. I thought it made things at least a little bit more unique. Will it work as like big surprises that people won't see coming? I don't know. That's up to the viewer. But I remember my thoughts when I first saw this, and I saw it when I worked at the video store. Rented it and went, oh yeah, this is pretty good, okay. And then eventually got it on DVD. It's over there somewhere. Granted, one issue is sometimes the time is a bit weird where, okay, in this guy's point of view, it took this much time to get from point A to point B, but then in this point of view, it seems like that takes a lot longer. So would the timing really be the same, the correct? Like, okay, again, the spoilers, heavy spoilers. They go through it. Like, Dennis Quaid, president's shot. He figured out, he wants to know what the hell's going on, wants questions, knows there's something, big explosion. Spanish cop, he's suspicious of his girlfriend, something about an overpass, runs through the streets, confronts someone, goes, "You surprised to see me alive?" It cuts, and then we'll see later who he's talking to. Forrest Whitaker is filming, met this guy named Sam, met this little girl who was with her mom, and notices Dennis Quaid is looking at something, so he's looking at it. Says, "Wait, I think I saw someone too," looking at it. And then you find out Dennis Quaid saw the Spanish cop's girlfriend throw something underneath the podium, knows something's up, that's why he rushed in the explosion. And heavy spoilers. Same with when Dennis Quaid is looking at the footage, and he's so surprised, he realizes his partner, Matthew Fox, has a different uniform, and he's talking, but he's not where he's supposed to be. Granted, convenient that you're able to catch that on footage, but it is what it is. So, for example, there's a bit with Forrest Whitaker where he's kind of running through with his video camera, following the Spanish cop, trying to be a good citizen, trying to get anything for the police. And then he's kind of can't cross the street, so he crosses this overpass. He sees the guy, Spanish cop, talking. There's a shootout. Sees the little girl on the road, runs to get the little girl. And it seems like that took, 2 minutes, maybe. Him chasing, running, overpass, getting there. Felt like the whole thing took like 2 minutes. Well, you go back to Dennis Quaid, he gets in this car chase, and the car chase seems like it takes 10 minutes. I like it because it's a fun car chase. It's a lot of, close corridor. I mean, it's no William Friedkin. It's not one of the best car chases. No. I thought it was a fun car chase. It was great to see Dennis Quaid in the middle of it. Because Dennis Quaid doesn't get to do a whole lot of action movies and action scenes. And I think he would work well, and he fit in the scene, and it went at a good pace, and it clipped along fast, and there was some good stunt work by the drivers. But it's one of those discrepancies where, okay, well, when this guy was doing his point of view, it felt like it only was 2 minutes long, but here is like, okay, 10 minutes long. Because, hey, this is like the big action scene, so we gotta make it longer, but it doesn't really work with the time. If you try to think of like how long this took compared to how long this took, you go crazy. And it's like, well, I don't know if that tracks. So, yeah, I maybe they just embellish on the action scene, which part of me is like, yeah, cool, because I love action. Yeah, it may not have worked well with their time thing, but that's a tough thing when you're trying to deal with. It's not real time, but it's. You try to have multiple events happen, and we see the point of view is like, okay, well, that would have taken longer than you. It's stuff you really have to either pay attention to or say fuck it and just go with hopeful entertainment first and foremost. And instead they get this, I thought, rather intense car chase. Very narrow roads, crashes, close calls. That was a very fun car chase. And it was cool, being a Dennis Quaid fan, seeing him to get to be a badass. He able to get to one of the bad guys, shoots them, shooting at Matthew Fox's car, wounds him. This is where most of the characters kind of culminate. The Spanish cop's been killed and shot. The little girl's on the street. Forrest Whitaker saves the girl. Oh, William Hurt, you saw his point of view. The guy who got shot wasn't him, it was a body double. The actual president was safe, but you find out that the bad guys knew this was happening, so they create this whole diversion with the bombs and the assassination attempt, but then secretly they go in and kidnap the actual president. And they have it in an ambulance, take him hostage. But during that, because all the other stuff's going on, they swerve to miss the girl, flip, crash. Dennis Quaid's able to get there, shoot the bad guy, and save the president. So it all works out at the end. So again, it is... I thought it was a fun little thriller, mainly because I liked the way it was done with the different point of views. I thought with the amount of movies I watch, it was nice to see it, take a typical plot, but to film in a different way, like different, take a page from Rashomon or other films, and I appreciate when trying to do something a little bit more unique. And then you got a capable cast, a short running time so it doesn't overstay its welcome, good long car chase that was satisfying to me to see this bit, your culmination. Would have been nice to see Sigourney Weaver somehow throughout the rest of the film. I don't know if this is a film I'd be rewatching over and over again. Because when you break it down, the plot, it's nothing that original. It's just the way it's been edited is a little bit different than the norm. But yeah, I do like it. I think if you're a Dennis Quaid fan, you definitely should see it. And overall, still a film I was entertained by. Still a film I do like. Still a film that did not see in the theater. Saw it on DVD when I worked at the video store, and like I said, still liked it. Would I put my top 10 of 2008? I don't know. If I did, maybe lower. I know my number one would be Rambo 4, but I don't know. I'm trying to remember all the films. It's hard to remember all the films that came out in a certain year, so I'd have to look through it, but maybe. But like I said, I like the structure, I like the cast, it's 87 minutes long, has a fun car chase at the end. It's not, the second coming of thrillers, but it's a entertaining enough diversion for 80 minutes. Doesn't change the book, it's not a classic or anything, but I do like the film. I think the film did decent business when it came out. I think it did all right, actually. Kind of want to look real quick. I don't know why I'm curious about this stuff, but I am. It cost $40 million and it made... Let me double check. Sorry. It made $72 million in the US and it made $151 million worldwide. So there you go. It says in December 2020, NBC was in the development stages of a TV series based on the film. Well, that definitely never happened. I mean, I don't think it deserves a 34% Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think it's that bad of a movie. Far from it. So. But there you go. Yeah, that's Vantage Point. I thought it was a pretty good film. The different point of view aspect, I thought at least made it a little bit more unique than just the typical fare. So. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.